Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Professor Rajendra Singh. You are welcome in my lecture on research methodology. If you are pursuing PhD, then a sound knowledge of research is quite imperative for you. So, in today's lecture, we will discuss what are the types of research. There are three types of research. Number one is exploratory research. Number two is descriptive research. And number three is causal research. So, one by one, we will discuss all the three types of research in details and would like to understand what are the basic difference between the all three. Exploratory research, in the case of exploratory research, the focus is focuses on the discovery of idea and exploratory study is generally based on the secondary data, based on the secondary data that are readily available that are readily available. It does not have a formal and it doesn't have it does not have a formal and rigid design. As the researcher may have to may have to change his focus or direction, focus or direction, depending on the availability of new idea, availability of new idea and relationship among variables. So you have seen, ladies and gentlemen, exploratory research is about It is the case of exploratory research. The focus is on the discovery of idea, and exploratory research is generally based on the secondary data, means the data which is actually gathered by someone else and another person is using it. The person who is using it has not gathered the data. He is using this data collected by someone else based on the secondary data that are readily available. It doesn't have a formal and rigid design, as the researcher may have to change his focus or direction depending on the availability of new ideas and the relationship among variables. It studies the relationship among the variables also. An exploratory study is in the nature of is in the nature of nature of preliminary investigation, preliminary investigation, preliminary investigation, wherein the researcher himself is not sufficiently is not sufficiently knowledgeable knowledgeable and is therefore unable to frame unable to frame detailed research question. Since the objective of exploratory research objective of is to generate new ideas, respondents should be given sufficient freedom. Respondents given sufficient freedom to express themselves. So you have seen, ladies and gentlemen, an exploratory study is in the nature of preliminary investigation, wherein the researcher himself is not sufficiently knowledgeable and his researcher who is doing research is not doesn't have the sufficient knowledge about the question of research and is therefore unable to frame detailed research questions because the researcher is not sufficiently knowledgeable, so he cannot frame detailed research questions. Since the objective of exploratory research is to generate new ideas, objective of exploratory research, basic idea of exploratory research is to generate new ideas. Respondents should be given sufficient freedom. Respondents who are replying the question of researcher should be given sufficient time and freedom to express themselves. So, and new ideas, new things should come into the research. Times, sometimes, sometimes a group of respondents, a group of respondents is brought together, is brought together, and a focus group focus group interview is held. Such an interview may be very helpful, provided respondents respondents shake off their initial initial inhibition and participate in the discussion the discussion without reservation. So you have seen, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes a group of respondents is brought together and a focus group interview is held. Such an interview may be very helpful, provided respondents shake off their initial inhibition and participate in the discussion without reservation. So I hope it is quite clear about the exploratory research. Now we will discuss the second type of research, that is descriptive research. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have quite uh, understood the exploratory research. Now we are going to discuss second types of research, that is descriptive research. Descriptive research. We will try to understand what is included in descriptive research. Descriptive studies are descriptive studies are undertaken in many circumstances, in many circumstances when the researcher is interested, when the researcher is interested in knowing, or we can say finding out in knowing the characteristics of certain groups, such as certain groups, such as such as age, age, sex, educational level, educational level, occupation, occupation or income, or income, A descriptive study may be necessary. Study may be necessary. Necessary. Other cases, other cases, when a descriptive studies, when a descriptive study could be taken up, could be taken up, or when he is interested, interested in knowing the proportion of people people in a given population who have belonged, who have behaved in a particular manner. Okay, first of all, we will try to understand descriptive research. Descriptive studies are undertaken in many circumstances when the researcher is interested in knowing the trends of certain groups, such as age, sex, educational level, occupation, or income. A descriptive study may be necessary. In other cases, when a descriptive study could be taken up, or when he is interested in knowing the proportion of people in a given population who have behaved in who have behaved in a particular manner, particular manner. Okay, I hope you have completed this. I would like to delete this and write another portion of descriptive research. So, hope you have note down. I want to delete this word in a particular manner, making projections. Making projection of a certain things, certain things, or determining the relationship the relationship between two or more variables. There is a general feeling. There is a general feeling, means there is a common feeling. There is a general feeling that descriptive studies are factual and are very simple, are very simple. It is not necessarily true. It is not necessarily true. True. Descriptive studies can be complex, can be complex, demanding a high degree of scientific skills, demanding a high degree of scientific skill. On the part of the researcher. So you have seen, ladies and gentlemen, making projection of certain things or determining the relationship between two or more variables. Descriptive studies are usually carried out to make projection for certain things and determining, establishing a relationship between two or more variables. Is there any relationship between one variable like age or sex or age or occupation or age or income? Whether there is some relationship between the two variables, there is generally a feeling that descriptive studies are factual. These are based on some facts and figures and are very simple. It is not necessarily true. Descriptive studies is always simple, it is not necessarily true. Descriptive studies may be difficult also sometimes. Descriptive studies can be complex, demanding a high degree of scientific skill. Researchers should be very skilled also sometimes. Skill on the part of the researcher means researcher should be very skilled. He should have some special ability or skills to carry out the descriptive research. So I hope you have understood these few points. So let me delete these points and I will explain a little bit more about the descriptive research. Ladies and gentlemen, descriptive studies are well structured. Descriptive studies are well structured, means well built up, well planned. Exploratory study is flexible in its approach, while exploratory study is flexible in its approach. But in descriptive study, but a descriptive study in contrast in contrast tends to be rigid. Descriptive studies are well structured. Exploratory study is flexible in its approach. Means, in comparison to exploratory study, descriptive study is well structured and rigid, but exploratory study is flexible in its approach. But a descriptive study, in contrast, tends to be rigid. It is somehow not that much flexible. And its approach cannot be changed. Approach cannot be changed every now and then. Every now and then. It is therefore necessary that the researcher gives sufficient thought to framing research questions. Thought in framing questions. Means researchers should be given sufficient time for the formulation of research questions. and deciding the type of data. The type of data to be collected, and the procedure to be used for this purpose. Purpose. Descriptive studies are well structured in comparison to exploratory study. Exploratory study is flexible in its approach, but descriptive study, in contrast, tends to be rigid. It is little bit difficult also, and its approach cannot be changed every now and then. In case of descriptive study, we cannot carry out lot of changes, but in exploratory research, we can change according to the changes in the nature of research. It is therefore necessary that the researcher gives sufficient thought in framing research questions. Means the researcher should formulate sufficient number of questions and deciding that the type of data be collected and the procedure to be used for the purpose. Descriptive studies can be divided. Should I delete? I hope you have not done. Descriptive studies can be divided. Can be divided into two broad categories. Number one, number one, cross-sectional studies. Cross-sectional, and number two, longitudinal. Longitudinal. Cross-sectional studies. In cross-sectional studies, it is in cross-sectional study is concerned with a sample of elements. Sample of elements from a given population. Thus, it may deal with it may deal with it may deal with household households, dealers, retail stores, or other entities. Or other entities. Data. So you see, cross-sectional studies is concerned with a sample of elements from a given population. Thus, it may deal with the households, means the people who are living in the houses, dealers who are providing the goods and services, retailers, stores, or other entities. I hope you have noted down, and let me delete this. No need to stop. So, today we have discussed two types of research: exploratory research and descriptive research. In descriptive research, we have discussed the two parts of descriptive research, that is cross-sectional research and longitudinal research. So it was all about today's lecture. I hope you will be with me in the next lecture on my lecture on research methodology. It was all for today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hope we'll meet you soon in my next lecture.